Morning.
Good morning. I mean, for you, it's good morning because you're in New Jersey, aren't you? Yeah,
Yes.
for me, it's not good morning. It's after lunch in Warsaw. But hello. We don't have much time, so let me go straight to my questions. And I would like to ask you about the beginning, to be particular about the beginning of the book. There is a thank you note at the beginning for your friends, and it's about a dinner party and a conversation that inspired you to write this book. Could you tell me what was this conversation about?
Yeah, we were having dinner with a longtime friends of ours who had a teenage son, and they were a little worried about him, so they confessed that they had put spyware on his phone and his computer so that they could keep an eye on him. And my first reaction was, oh my God, that's terrible. What a violation of privacy. I would never do that. And then they said, well, you wouldn't let your kids walk down a street where there's beheadings and all sorts of awful things to see and do, which the internet has, right? So it's your job to keep an eye on them. And it started a very lively discussion on the subject. And I realized it wasn't all that easy. It's a very great question. And more important, wow, what a cool thing to write, to use in a thriller.
Yeah, and well, let's say that technology is, well, maybe not a villain in a show, but it is a topic, one of the main topics in the show and in the book. What do you think about technology in modern world?
Look, it's easy to criticize. There's good and there's bad, like in anything else. It's how we use it. But in this case, what I hope with the book, when I wrote the book and when the show comes out, I hope that families watch it together. And then it leads to lively discussions between parents and teens about where those lines should be drawn. And I'm suspicious of anybody who knows the right answer. If everybody says, technology is bad and you should never use spyware, never ever. I'm always suspicious of those sort of answers. It's never a one-size-fits-all. Everybody's a little bit different. Every circumstance is a little bit different. And so that's what makes it really interesting and fun to make a drama out of it. Again, if it was an easy answer, it wouldn't be interesting to explore. So in the TV show, when Anya and Mikhail have these sort of arguments and discussions and find their own way, I hope we as an audience agree with one, disagree with another, and get both sides.
Yeah, because Hold Tight is also about a parent-children dynamic. Yeah, and it's also about abusing one's trust and let's say children independence. You are a father of 4 children, so you are quite experienced in this field. Do you think teenagers should be more or less controlled by their parents?
Again, I don't think it's one size fits all. I think you have to depend. It depends on the kid. I'm usually on the side of not. I think in general we are probably a little bit too much what we call helicopter parents. We're a little too involved in their lives, and that's not necessarily healthy for either the kid or the parent. But it's not. It really isn't one size fits all. It's not. Everybody's a little bit different. Every circumstance is different, and that's again what makes it compelling drama. But for me personally, and also I was very lucky. My kids are a little older now, but while they were kids, I really didn't have too many of these issues. My kids were really had their heads on straight, which made it a lot easier for me. So. Yeah, that's how how I side is kind of not really relevant, and I don't want to say this is good, this is bad.
Yeah,
that's what drama's for. That's what stories should be about. And my hope is that Hold Tight raises those issues. First of all, it has to in an entertaining way. My job is to entertain you. My job is to keep you up at night. I'm hoping this show you click, 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 and get through all 6 because you're so held in suspense and want to know what happens to Anya and Mikhail and everybody else that's in the story. But it's not my job to say to you, put spyware on your kid's computer or never put spyware on your kid's computer. That's not my job.
But this subject is quite universal. I mean,
Yeah.
it easily translates into Polish, English, French, and whatever language there is available. But Hold Tight is the second Polish adaptation of your works. I've read somewhere that you really liked Into the Woods. I don't know if it's true, but I read that you liked it, even though there's been some changes. Because there have to be some changes, especially, let's say, you have to transpose some circumstances, some cultural references from English to Polish. And Into the Woods is Polish. I mean, the story is universal, but there are local references. There is Polish popular music from the 90s. And my question is, how do you like the Polish version of Hold Tight?
Well, it sounds self-serving, but my view, I'll ask your opinion in a second, because I've spoken to, I think, 7 journalists.
Yeah.
And of the 7, I've asked all of them which they liked better, Hold Tight in the Woods. And 6 out of 7 said Hold Tight. Only 1 liked the Woods better. And I'm with those 6 or 7. I think that Hold Tight is better. It was a better show.
It's different. It's different.
They're all my children, so I love them all. But I think Hold Tight is a little bit more compelling. I mean, Hold Tight is a little more compelling, a little more dynamic. And so there's things. But I think both have incredible acting, incredible directing, beautifully shot. I think I like the setting of this one more with the housing development and that one shot when the car is going over and you see Warsaw in the distance, the skyline. So there's a lot, in that way I really love about this show. I never mind changes. I encourage changes. I think the worst adaptations are the ones that stay slavishly devoted to the book and worry about being close to the book. I never worry about being close to the book. If you want the book, read the book. I worry about making a great show, so I'm always willing to make changes. That's every show I've done. The stranger in the book was a man, and the woman in the book, in the TV series, it was a woman. We made a lot of changes with Stay Close. All 7 that are going to be on Netflix, I've made massive changes, and that makes them work better, I think. The other thing is, it's in Poland, and so it should reflect those differences. So the way I look at it is, the book is a hit song, right? I wrote and recorded a hit song, and now really talented band in Poland wants to remake it. Well, it wouldn't be any good if they made the exact same song that I made. What's the point of that? And just listen to my song. But I want them to bring in their Polish culture, their Polish instruments, their Polish musical tradition, all of that. That's what's going to make it interesting, the blend of the two. And I think that's what works really well here in Hold Tight. The idea of parents going too far to care for their children, that's universal. But the setting and some of the cultural differences and things that go on, that makes it uniquely Polish, which I think will appeal to people of Poland, but I hope it appeals to people all over the world. One of my goals always with Netflix is that this show is going to be seen in 190 countries, including here in the United States, and I'm hoping that we'll introduce Americans and British and French and Polish and everybody else to a Polish TV show and these wonderfully talented actors and that cast and crew.
I've read that for years you avoided adapting your novels. You didn't want to do it. And then something changed. What was it? Because now you are not only a writer, you're also a TV producer. And you are linked to one of the biggest VOD platforms, worldwide.
Right.
What happened?
Well, first of all, when you're younger, when I sold I had my first book, big movie sale, which was Tell No One, 20-something years ago. And I went out to Hollywood a little bit and started to talk to them. And my publisher, a very wise woman, pulled me aside and said, if you get in that world, you're going to get lost and not be able to write your books. You're going, I've seen it happen to too many writers. They think they can conquer that world. And it's not a good world. I'm not that it's evil or anything like that, but a lot of things don't get done, made, and And so I decided at some point after talking to her that she was right, and that what I love to do is write novels. And so I did. I really focused very hard on my novels. I wouldn't not sell anything or do anything, but I also didn't have the time because I had 4 young kids and I'm writing these novels and I wrote a lot. And then as I got a little bit older, a couple of years ago, I decided I would try dipping my toe into it for a couple of reasons. One is I'd been writing books for 30 years by that stage, almost 25, 30 years. And I wanted to try something a little bit different. But 2, the TV landscape had changed. That's the main thing. So when I was first going out there, you can make a movie maybe, but as far as TV shows go, well, it's like CSI. It's going to be 22 episodes. Every episode is 40 minutes. You start with a crime, you end with a crime, blah, blah, blah. With Netflix and streaming, some of my shows are 8 episodes, 10 episodes. This one is 6 episodes. The last foreign language one was 5 episodes. To me, it's one long movie or one novel put on the screen. I don't have to cut everything out to make it. I can actually explore and extend characters. So it was just a better, that kind of platform works better for me. I still really wouldn't want to work on a network 20 episode season show. I think that would not work to my skills levels much. So it's just sort of time. My kids were grown, and I wanted to sort of conquer new worlds, if you will, and that's how it sort of started.
How did you feel when, for the first time, you could see characters that you've created alive on screen? What was the feeling?
It's still a thrill every single time. I mean, unfortunately, because of COVID, I haven't been over to Poland for the shows. Usually I go over, and I wasn't over for Stay Close, the last British show either, because of COVID. But I'm making one here in New Jersey right now, and I do hope to be over. And there's always a moment when I first go on set and I see 100 people working on lights and sound and everything else, and I think to myself, wow, I had this little idea in my house in the corner there, and now all of these talented, wonderful people are going to bring it to life. And then on April 22nd, on Pacific time in the United States at midnight Pacific time, someone's going to press a button, and all 6 episodes of this show are going to be in 190 countries, 200 plus million households subscribing, which is probably 600 or 700 million people with the chance to watch it. That's still every day, and every time I do it, that's still exciting.
Tell me how involved you are in production of shows based on your novels.
Yeah, it depends on the shows. The English language ones, I'm what they call the showrunner. I'm sort of the boss. I'm there every day in some way. Even if I'm not there, we're talking about it. I meet with all the cast beforehand. I pick the cast usually, or I help select the cast with my team. I'm involved a lot. With the depends on the foreign language show. Now this one, I ended up being more involved than I anticipated. Some of the early scripts I didn't really think were right. So I got involved early on. And then really, which is where Netflix is so fantastic, I thought that there were a lot of problems with the early episodes when I saw the first cut. And we went back and we refilmed probably 20 minutes of the pilot episode, I bet. I'm guessing, something like that. We added scenes that to help so people that would understand a little bit better what was going on. And what I love about Netflix, especially Netflix Poland, with this very talented team, is they didn't, which happens a lot of times, people get defensive. No, it works because, no, they were like, how can we make this show better? What can we, all the actors, actresses, let's make this show as great as it can be. And now I'm really pleased with it. I mean, the difference is shocking. So I'm really happy with the changes that we all agreed to, that we all want. It really is a team effort. That's the biggest difference between novel writing and TV is when it's a novel, you're everything, right? You're the writer, director, producer, key grip, whatever that is, all those things you are. But this, and I look at it like I'm a pro tennis player, a pro golfer. You win on your own and all of that. But here I feel like I'm captain of or maybe coach of a World Cup team. And I want all of my players to do well. I want them all to get big premiership contracts when it's over. And I don't care who scores the goals or how, we just have to win. And so it's been really kind of interesting.
I don't know what the first cut of the show looked like, but I really love the first 3 episodes. Are great. I rewatched them all twice. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's really good job.
My favorite episode is episode 5.
Really?
That's because the emotion when between 2 parents, one Ani and Mikhail, obviously, but also the single father with the troublesome son, when they have their moments, even though they're both sort of vile characters, but when they're together, there's a moment when he sort of begs, without giving it because you've seen the story, but when he sort of begs his son to stay alive, that kind of, every time I've seen that scene, that sort of hits me. So my favorite is episode 5, but hey, I'm glad, whatever.
I like the show in general. I just was so surprised with the effect, on screen with the first 3 episodes that I got to watch, as screeners. And my last question, because we ran out of time, is about time. Because you are a writer. You are mostly a writer, and you still write books, and now you are so involved in TV production. How do you find time to do all this? And do you watch TV shows? Do you have time to watch TV shows?
Well, I think the way what happens is they sort of feed off each other. So mostly I'm an introvert. All right, I spent most of my last 30 years sitting in a room alone. That's what I do. So to get out every once in a while and work with other people and collaborate is fantastic, and I really enjoy it. The thing is, once I do that, after a couple of days, because I'm an introvert, I start to go a little bit crazy and I want to lock myself back in a room and write. So they kind of feed off each other. Oh, I'm getting a little bored with writing and being alone. I'll go out and see people. Oops, I'm seeing people. Now I got to go. That's enough of that. I got to go back. So they fed off each other so far. If it comes to a point where, I have to slow down one or the other, then I'll do that. But right now, it hasn't yet happened. Also, my 4 kids are grown now, so that was a lot of my time was raising those kids. They're all out of the house now, so we're empty nester, which gives me more time. And the third thing is I have nothing else. Like I don't have hobbies. I don't collect things. I don't do anything like that. So what else am I going to do? This is what I do. I tell stories.